Today I'm going to be telling you guys about the wonderful story about the time I accidentally may or not, have gotten a third grader suspended from school when I was in 8th grade. So here's the backstory. I went to a charter school the whole time my middle school life, right? So from kindergarten to 3rd grade I was a public school. But from 4th grade through high school, I was always at charter. And so here's the story. Middle school, I was in 8th grade. I was living my life, FNAF was becoming a thing. That was the one thing everybody knew and was talking about. Oh, have you seen the new creepypasta thing? Oh, have you seen the new, what's going on in FNAF? Yeah, all that stuff. And so here I am in class, hearing about the game. I went on a couple campouts, and a couple of my friends would always have that, and they're like, hey, play this game. We'd play a little bit, not knowing what to do, and then, we'd always get jump scared. Freak out whenever the guy would come up. Well, it's fine. That's all fun and games, Nobody got hurt. Nobody got that scared. I had nightmares and stuff. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys got nightmares. I was, for the most part, okay. It might have been a little scary, but I was fine with it. And then here's what happens. So I'm over at middle school, 8th grade, sitting in my class, looking around. Teacher's teaching a lesson when all of a sudden our principal comes in. And he goes, hey, and he would say this thing every time. Turn off listening. And that's when everybody had to drop whatever you were doing. It didn't matter if you were trying to do CPR, if you were trying to save somebody's life. If he came in and he was like, turn off listening, you would just have to stop. You'd let your buddy die. You couldn't do anything. You could not do anything against that command. So you're up there, you stand still, you're like, hoo-ha, kind of like military school, looking at him, you're like, yeah, what's up? Don't say anything, you just make eye contact. He looks around the room, he's looking around, he's like, I'm honestly a little bit confused. Does anybody know what the word FNAF stands for? And all of us are kind of looking around the room, giving each other the eye, tell him, what's going on, and he's like, well, and he looks over to one of my classmates and he goes, Mr. Maddox, I'll just make up that name. Mr. Maddox, do you know what FNAF stands for? You usually know about stuff like this that I don't know about. And I looked around and he was like, I think it's some kind of horror game or something. I don't know. I'm not really into it. And we all look around and we're like, yeah. And he looks around and he's like, is this true? And we're all like, yeah. That's pretty much right. Yeah. And he goes, okay. Well, the thing is, I was just walking around and the teacher had come up to me and complained to me about how a 3rd grader had been singing a song earlier that had the word FNAF in it. And I'm thinking, it's not that bad. I wonder what song he could be singing. Because recently I had a song stuck in my head too. It was one of Living Tombstone songs. And if you don't know what it is, you guys should go listen to it. It's called Die in a Fire. That's literally the title. And it's one of those FNAF songs, right? Really catchy and everything, and I love music where there's bass and a catchy tune and everything's going on, where you can get down to the beat and you're vibing with it, right? I love that kind of music, and so I don't really pay attention to lyrics per se, but when I listen to songs enough times, the lyrics get stuck in my head, and I don't know that I'm singing them, but I know the beat. And so I'm over here jamming out to the song, a couple of weeks ago, dun, 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 and the song literally goes, I hope you die in a fire, and then the whole bass drop goes on, right? Brah, brah, brah. Highly recommend you listen to it before you finish this story, because it'll make so much more sense besides just listening to me beatbox over here. But a couple weeks ago I was going around and I was just singing out on the bus. I was like, hope you die in a fire, brah, 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 And on the way to school, a couple of the kids were looking around, they're like, what song is that? And I was like, oh, it's really good, you should listen to it. It's by the Living Tombstone, Oh, okay, and they're little, I'm sure they're not gonna listen to it or do anything, And we go back to present day, and our principal is like, well, the kid was singing a song, and the lyrics went, I hope you burn in a fire. And to me, the dots didn't connect just then. To me, I thought the song went he was singing a different song that had something different. Because everybody was making up songs and everybody was doing different things, And I was like, oh, it must be a different song, And And so absent-mindedly, I was just thinking about it, like, oh, that's too bad for that kid. He got in trouble, must have been singing at the wrong time or whatever. And he goes and he continues and he says, the thing is, I just had to suspend the kid for saying such obscenities around the school to his other peers and classmates. And I was like, oh my gosh, that poor kid. I wonder what must be going through his mind right now. That's too bad. And he finishes up his lecture and then he walks out of the room. And I don't think much of it until I realize, wait a minute, wait just a second, I'm the fool that's been going around singing that song too, just randomly. Like, I'd walk around the halls and go, but I'd never say it loud enough to where anybody would hear it. I sit there like astounded with myself. Like, oh my gosh, I just got this kid he's suspended from the school. What have I done? And so then for the rest of the school year, we weren't allowed to say anything about FNAF or say the words like Five Nights at Freddy's, right? It was banned from the school. Nobody could say that. Nobody could say Five Nights at Freddy's. And so, best part, one of my good friends, as we're on the bus and we're talking, and I'm like, man, I think I accidentally got that kid suspended. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's not completely your fault. I mean, like, maybe you're singing the song. But he was singing them louder, and he was just singing them around. But I'm like, yeah, he's third grade now. We're talking about this. And I'm like, well, now we just can't say anything about Five Nights at Freddy's, which I feel worst about. And he's like, what are you talking about? We can say whatever we want. I'm like, no. They know what Five Nights at Freddy's stands for. FNAF? He says. And I'm like, yeah, FNAF. They know what that stands for. And he's like, they don't know what FNAF means. I'm like, yes, they do. They said so in, like, when he walked in. My friend rolls down the window, right? We're leaving the school just then. He rolls down the window, sticks almost his head out the window, because the bus driver was looking at me. Me and the bus driver were tight, but she knew that I like to mess around a little bit. And my friend sticks his head out a little bit, making the teacher's standing out there making sure all the kids are fine, waiting for their parents to show up to come pick up the kids, right? Sticks his head out and he's like, FNAF! FNAF! And I'm freaking out. I'm like grabbing him, like, dude, sit down, what are you doing? You know what that means? And he's like, they don't know anything. FNAF! He keeps on like yelling this out the window, and the teacher makes dead eye contact with him. He looks back. Well, he sits down and he looks back at her, and she just gives this blank stare like, what is that kid screaming? Like, what's going on? Like, he's so weird. Never heard any of it again. The school didn't freak out about it after that. I mean, maybe they'd get after some of the kids that would just start talking about Five Nights at Freddy's with the teachers or something, but that never happened. And yeah, the kid came back, and that was about it. That is my story about the poor little third grade. I'm sorry, little buddy, if you're out there and somehow you found this. But yeah, thanks for watching.